Modern assassin Lin Chi unexpectedly and mysteriously travels to Miss An Cheng, who shares the same name and surname as herself. Arrogant and domineering, ignorant and inexperienced, unruly and capricious, what are you doing? Why don't you know how to put yourself in first place? Who can tell them, who is this woman who can climb trees, fish in the sea, chop firewood, cook, build houses, and do anything? Lin Chi was wronged. Isn't it Mississippi? Isn't it pampering and pampering? How could she come to work as a laborer? Throwing away the spatula, Lin Chi said he wouldn't do it anymore. A certain actor intervened and said, "Tell me, how about going home and being my wife Chi?" Lin Chi. Quietly picking up the spatula, what? You said you wanted to give me 10 million to make me happy. Wow, wow. Keywords of the novel. Surviving in the wilderness. The whole internet knocks me in the movie star CP without pop-ups, surviving in the wilderness. The whole internet knocks me and the movie star CPTXT complete collection download, surviving in the wilderness. The whole internet knocks me and the movie star CP latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Absurd Crossing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Absurd Crossing, TSK, Big Brother, this lady has such a beautiful appearance. Look at this tender little face, I've never seen such a beautiful woman before, even though I'm so big. In the dimly lit grove, two ugly men sat on the ground, one on the left and the other on the right, beside a beautiful and unconscious girl. The man called Big Brother stared at the girl on the ground. A skin that is as tender as water and stunning in appearance, truly captivating. Subconsciously swallowing saliva, but. The second younger brother was moved and quickly said, "The employer just asked us to kill the person. He didn't say we couldn't do that first and then that. Anyway, she hasn't woken up yet. Even if she wakes up, she's not a match for our brothers. How about?" Second brother rubbed his fists and palms together. "Then hurry up." Speaking, the two brothers hurriedly went to pick up the girl's clothes. Roaming. Suddenly, there was a loud bang. Lightning tore through the entire sky, and the thunderbolt struck straight down, landing on the girl. Ah! The two brothers were so scared that they crouched down on the ground. The second younger brother trembled and reached out his hand, probing at the tip of Lin Chi's nose. "Are you dead or dead? And breathe." I breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing that it was about to rain, the big brother urged. The second brother extended his claws again, but his hand was grabbed by someone just as he was about to touch the girl. Then, the girl who was originally lying unconscious on the ground suddenly opened her eyes. With a click, my wrist dislocated. The second brother let out a pig-like howl in pain. "Speak up. Who are you?" As soon as Lin Chi opened his eyes, he saw two men who intended to do something against her. It's strange that she remembers being calculated when she went on a mission, and probably not a single body was blown up on a ship at sea. How are you safe and sound here now? Just as I was thinking about it, a sharp and intense pain suddenly came from the back of my head. Immediately after, a memory that did not belong to her forcefully entered her mind. She's dead. But he didn't die yet. An outrageous journey to another world, where Lin Chi, the young lady of the Lin family with the same name and surname but different destiny, shares the same name. With a thud. Just as Lin Chi was lost in thought, digesting this outrageous matter, his second brother suddenly crushed her to the ground. Lin Chi's back of the head was pounded with pain. She endured the pain, bent her knees, and pressed them against the man's stomach, flipping the person over her. At the same time, she flipped over and neatly removed both of her arms. My second brother screamed in pain. Noisy. The girl had a black face and punched the man hard on the mouth. Two teeth mixed with blood were spat out. The man's face was covered in pain, and his eyes were about to crack. And all of this happened in just about 10 seconds. The big brother on the fast side almost didn't react. He watched as his little brother was beaten. After realizing it, I wanted to help and just walked behind Lin Chi. I saw that the girl didn't turn her head back and slapped her big ear on his face. The man let out a scream. Lin Chi didn't give him a chance to react. He punched him in the stomach and twisted his nose, causing nosebleeds to spurt out. Lin Chi shook his head and felt a bit unsteady standing. Damn it. They even drugged this body. Lin Chi bit through the tip of her tongue, and the pain made her wake up a bit. Who sent you to kill me? She kicked the person to the ground and immediately sat aside. Afraid of standing unsteadily and revealing flaws. Big brother covered his nose, one hand was bleeding, and second brother was still lying on the ground in pain, crying and calling for his mother. Neither of them spoke, and Lin Chi lacked patience. He grabbed his elder brother's clothes and pulled him over, punching him in the eyes with a bang bang. Li, he said, speak up. From the memory of the original owner, it was learned that although she had a somewhat arrogant and domineering personality, she did not actually form a grudge against anyone. Nowadays, some people are sending people to insult her first and then kill her. What a great deal of hatred. She must know who this person is. Big brother covered his eyes, and his screams became even louder. Before he could catch his breath, Lin Chi suddenly grabbed his neck, causing all the air to disappear and his face to turn a pig liver color. The strong suffocation made him wander wildly on the edge of death. I didn't say I killed you. The girl's pitch-black face couldn't tell her original expression, but her eyes were even brighter than stars, and at this moment, a cold light suddenly appeared, cold and ruthless. Lin Chi's hands relaxed a bit, giving his elder brother a chance to catch his breath. A pair of cold eyes glared at him. Under the oppression of Lin Chi, an old man collapsed and cried on the spot. That's right, I cried. Tears streamed down my face. The crying father shouted to his mother, I don't know, wow. Don't kill me, I really don't know who's going to kill you. Then he pointed to his younger brother and said, if you don't believe me, ask him. It's clear that he had a crush on her, how could he get hurt and become him? Isn't it true that Miss Lin from the Lin family is powerless, but she has a bit of a domineering personality and only knows how to do three-legged martial arts? Who is now as powerful as a cow, incredibly fierce? Lin Chi turned her head, and her second younger brother was crawling on the ground like a maggot, thinking she didn't know and could escape from this place when she wasn't paying attention. I felt the strong gaze. Second brother slowly turned his head. At this moment, a strong wind blew and thunder roared. Then, heavy rain poured down, and in the midst of lightning and thunder, the second younger brother saw the girl over there with a face as black as coal, her hair wet against her face, and a pair of malevolent and malicious eyes staring at him. Ghosts. My second brother let out a scream and then passed out. Lin Chi suddenly turned his head. The older brother, who was originally crying for his father and calling for his mother, wanted to take advantage of Lin Chi's interruptions and take her life. But I don't know how strong the girl's vigilance is. Holding the man with a knife in one hand, he wanted to stab her hand to death, then turned left, and his arm was placed in an extremely twisted position. With a release of his hand, the knife fell from his hand, and Lin Chi firmly caught it. Then, his hand started to fall and an expressionless knife stabbed him in the thigh. After pulling it out, in his painful screams, another knife stabbed into his other leg. After repeating this for about 10 times, the man eventually passed out in pain. Since there is no value in utilization, there is no need to survive in this world. Lin Chi stood up indifferently. In the darkness, a low-key luxury car parked on the roadside, and the sound of tires scratching the ground was particularly harsh in such a quiet place. The handsome man in the back seat of the car opened his eyes and said, "What's wrong?" The man in the driver's seat yelled anxiously as he unbuttoned his seatbelt and replied, "Young master, I have 3 urgent needs. It will take another hour to get to the city. Why don't you get off the car and take care of it?" The man glanced at him, and Wang Song immediately got off the car without looking back. He took off his pants in front of the bushes. As he was about to solve a major life issue, suddenly, one hand grabbed his foot. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. He holds my geo. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. He holds my geo. Wang Song's body stiffened at first, followed by a scream of terror that seemed to break through the sky. Wang Song was so scared that he sat down on the ground, unable to control his urge to pee, and wet his pants on the spot. I collapsed and cried on the spot. He thought all of this was his own illusion, but it wasn't. He could feel the hand gripping his ankle constantly exerting force. Help me. A weak female voice rang out. Wang Song didn't hear it. Scared, his 3 souls and 6 souls had already run away from home, his hair all standing up, and he desperately wanted to run. The thing holding his feet was as strong as a cow. At this moment, the man in the car walked down. Wang Song seemed to see the dawn of hope, tears and snot streaming down his face. He reached out Kong's hand and said, "Woo-woo. Young master, help me. Help me. There's a ghost. There's a ghost. Woo-woo. Qi Yan." Wang Song pointed his other finger at his foot. He's holding on to my geo. He's holding on to my geo. Young master. I'm afraid of sobbing. He really collapsed, hating himself for having too much tolerance and not even fainting now. Young master. Help me. Help me. Wow. Take that thing away. Take it away. His geo. For a moment, Qi Yan wanted to escape. The light of the flashlight shot towards him, and he gritted his head to look over. He only saw a fair and slender hand tightly gripping Wang Song's ankle. It looks like a woman. At this moment, Qi Yan's heart suddenly became much faster. In this world, there really is, damn it. The man was frightened and let out a roar, then took several steps back and almost fell. I saw Lin Qi lifting her head, her wet hair covering her head, revealing half of her face. Qi Yan was critically hit from the front. The heart beats incredibly fast. Help me. The weak voice was still ringing, and in this sudden moment of silence, Qi Yan and Wang Song both heard it. Wang Song wiped his tears and became less afraid. No, isn't it a ghost? As is well known, ghosts cannot speak. The two exchanged a glance, and then Wang Song crawled over and boldly reached out to touch the temperature on her body. But the next second, he was grabbed by Lin Qi's hand. Pain, pain, pain. Let go, let go. The girl's strength is amazing, and she can't help but want to break it when she grabs his hand. Help me. Help, help. Help you. Upon hearing this, the girl's strength relaxed and she completely fainted. Wang Song grinned and rubbed his hand. Qi Yan squatted beside him. Young master, what should we do now? Send to the hospital. Throwing down these 3 words, Qi Yan gave Wang Song a hand and picked up Lin Qi from the ground, placing him in the back seat of the car. Lin Qi lay face down on the seat, her hair falling from both sides, revealing her face that had been slightly burnt black after being struck by lightning. Lin Qi. Seeing this face that had turned into dust and was familiar to everyone, Wang Song stuttered. Qi Yan frowned. How could she be here? Young master, shouldn't it be aimed at us? Qi Yan shook his head and didn't go to investigate why Lin Qi appeared here for the time being. Go to the hospital first, he said. Lin Qi likes him and goes to any lengths to create an opportunity to meet him, which is well known throughout the country. However, he does not believe that Lin Qi is so powerful that he knows which path he will take when he returns today. The next day, Lin Qi opened his eyes and found himself in the hospital. What happened last night came to mind. Before losing consciousness completely, she remembered encountering 2 men, presumably they had saved her. As for who sent those two men who were going to harm her, I reorganized the memory of the original owner and found that she really made many enemies, but they were all small skirmishes, not to the point of taking her life. As for the Lin family, a cold light flashed through Lin Chi's eyes. On the surface, she appears to be the Miss Lin of the Lin family, with infinite beauty, but who knows that the Lin family is a place that eats people without vomiting bones. Both stepmother and half-sister are people who hide their swords in a smile and have a sweet tongue. The original owner was foolish and confused, thinking that they were genuinely good to her. As an outsider, Lin Chi could see it clearly. As for their purpose, based on her years of experience watching political dramas, it may be for the Lin family group. So, those people were sent by them to kill her, and after that, Lin Jingjing has no competitors anymore. No, no, no. They wanted to turn the original owner into a waste, and now they have indeed succeeded. The original owner was uneducated and unruly, a playboy who was disliked everywhere and even listened to their words. They didn't need to take action against her at this time. Who is it that has a deep blood feud with her and wants to kill her? Lin Chi thought for a moment and everyone couldn't find a culprit, but whoever it was, since she survived by borrowing the identity of the original owner, she wouldn't let that person succeed again. And I will personally seek revenge. With such thoughts, the girl's cold eyes flashed with a murderous intent. Suddenly, the phone on the bedside table rang. Lin Chi blinked, and all the cold light in his eyes disappeared. His lips were pale, and his pretty face was weak, looking harmless like a small white flower. Press the connect button. Miss Lin, I am from the program team of Extreme Survival. I would like to inform you that the next episode will be recorded in 3 days and will be held in Yuncheng. Lin Chi replied coldly with a single word. Then he hung up the phone. Yes. Although the original owner was a young lady from the Lin family in Ansheng, she also entered the entertainment industry for the sake of love. As a result, she was scolded by the other party's fans and was brutally beaten. 2 days later. Waiting room. Lin Cheating is on the last flight to Ansheng, and at this moment, she is the only one in the waiting room. She flipped through her phone and had a preliminary understanding of the world and her environment in the past 2 days. She frolicked on social media and told the person who wanted to kill her that she was not dead yet. As for who it is, as long as the other party still wants to take action against her, she will definitely find it. But the top priority now is to record variety shows. With a snap, the door to the waiting room opened, and the sound of conversation approached from afar. Young master, I'm about to board the plane soon. During my absence, you need to take good care of yourself, don't catch a cold, and don't make me worry. You're already in poor health, and I can't bear to see you feel uncomfortable. I watched the last episode of the program, but don't be like before. You can't eat enough and wear warm anymore. As a big man, you can bend and stretch. When you need to lower your head, don't be hungry. If you're hungry, I'll feel heartbroken. Wang Song said a lot, like an old lady. Oh, by the way, there's the most important thing, he said, getting closer and whispering to Qi Yan. Young master, remember to stay away from that crazy woman Lin Chi. Upon hearing his name, Lin Chi looked up and met Qi Yan's 4 eyes, who were looking towards him. We both recognized each other. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Qi Yan, Myth of the Entertainment Industry. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Qi Yan, Myth of the Entertainment Industry. Qi Yan, a myth in the entertainment industry, debuted as a child star and gained a group of mother fans with her exquisite appearance. As she grew up, she gained a large number of girlfriend fans with her still exquisite appearance and increasingly exquisite acting skills. He is also a man that the original owner likes, and it is precisely to follow him that the original owner entered the entertainment industry. Lin Chi took the lead in retracting his gaze, and Qi Yan's eyes flashed with amazement before interrupting Wang Song's fragmented thoughts next to him. I have a clear idea of what you said. You should go back first. Speaking, he deliberately blocked Wang Song's gaze. If he sees Lin Chi, he's afraid these two will start fighting again. Headache. Wang Song only turned back 3 times and left feeling uneasy. As soon as he left, the waiting room quieted down, leaving only Qi Yan and Lin Chi. The man turned around, and Lin Chi was still looking at her phone. She didn't just circle around him like a butterfly, as usual. Suppressing the strange feeling in his heart, Qi Yan sat next to Lin Chi. After a long wait of 30 minutes. The girl next to him didn't mean to talk to him either. Deepened Qi Yan's doubts in his heart. Is this amnesia or has someone taken it away? Don't know him anymore. Or did you switch sex? As long as her previous relentless pursuit has caused him trouble, and she decides to reform and become a new person, as if she doesn't know her anymore. Qi Yan was puzzled for a moment, but he was not a proactive person. In the end, he boarded the plane with a lot of questions. The two of them are on the same destination and flight, traveling from Anqing Airport to Yunqing Airport and finally taking the same car to the hotel. Neither of them has had a word of communication. The next day, 5 guests, except for Lin Chi, gathered in the hotel lobby one after another. Recording officially begins. Extreme Survival is a survival-oriented live variety show that places 6 guests on wilderness islands and other places. The program has just started broadcasting, but due to Qi Yan's immense influence, the barrage has been flashed on the screen in just a while. Front row, front row. First and first. Come and see Emperor Qi Ying, brother is so handsome. I love him. Crazy for him, pounding against the wall. Come and see Jiao Jiao baby, Jiao Jiao is so beautiful. I love this woman so much when I scolded Lin Chi in the last episode of the program. Lin Chi. Speaking of which, everyone else has arrived. Where is Lin Chi? Why didn't you see Lin Chi? The departure time for the deserted island is 9 o'clock, and Lin Chi arrived at 8:50, which is not considered late. Due to her appearance, the few people who were originally chatting hotly except for Qi Yan suddenly fell silent. Huang Jiao sat alone on a sofa, crossed her legs, and said "Tsk tisk" twice. Some people are not very famous, but their scores are quite big. They were a whole 20 minutes late. Lin Chi touched his nose and glanced at her. Huang Jiao, a new influencer, starred in a popular campus youth idol drama. The archenemy of the original owner. In the first episode of the show, the two of them had a fight, and then they would argue and force each other every time they met, but each time it ended in the original owner's failure. The original owner belongs to a type that is both addictive and addictive. Unable to fight, I still want to find trouble, but Huang Jiao is not a good person either. The reason for the fight is because Huang Jiao talked to her former owner's deceased mother. Walk straight to Huang Jiao. Huang Jiao was pinned down by Lin Chi standing, and she had already lost just in terms of aura. Just as she was about to stand up, Lin Chi suddenly reached out his hand. Huang Jiao was startled and quickly covered her face, thinking that Lin Chi was going to hit her. Puff. Lin Chi pinned her hair behind her ear and sneered. You're quite funny. Then he sat down. You. Huang Jiao was so angry that she put down her hands awkwardly, and then sat down on the sofa in a fit of anger. My cheeks turned red from embarrassment. Glancing at Lin Chi next to her, I felt like there was something different about her, but I couldn't tell. Feeling humiliated by Lin Chi, he was furious and said, Lin Chi, I'm talking to you. Did you hear me? Lin Chi tilted her head, blinked her eyes, and looked innocently at the woman in front of her who was causing trouble. Is anyone talking? When? Isn't it a dog barking? Before Huang Jiao could even utter a word, she was humiliated by Lin Chi and said it was neither right nor wrong. You. She widened her eyes. Lin Chi said again, "What's wrong with me? Are you trying to say that I've become beautiful again today?" "Yes, I think so too." As she spoke, she even laughed and said, "Sure enough, sleeping can improve beauty. Sleeping a little longer will make you look better. Oh my, it's almost 9 o'clock and we're going to be late. Let's hurry up and leave." The implication is that she will depart at 9 o'clock and Lin Chi will not be late when she arrives at 8:50. 6 people were blindfolded and boarded the car, then boarded the plane again. After flying for nearly 3 hours, the eye mask was taken off. Huang Jiao complained, "What's so mysterious? They don't know where they are now, and the accompanying director is handing over the task card to them. Next, they will live in a forest for 7 days. The first challenge is to parachute from a height of 50 meters. Huang Jiao immediately retorted, "But we haven't had any experience of skydiving. What if something happens?" The accompanying director on the plane explained that there was no danger and all safety measures were the best. The height of 50 meters is not high, and our staff have personally experienced it without any danger. Please rest assured. But Huang Jiao was still looking for excuses to evade. "If you're not afraid of 10,000, just be afraid of what happens. No one would be willing to gamble their lives. I believe I'm not the only one present with such concerns. If you don't believe me, ask Lin Chi. She knows Lin Chi and what kind of personality he is. He is afraid of death and ranks first. She has said so. Even if Lin Chi doesn't deal with her, he will still stand on her side." Huang Jiaoxin swore to Dan Dan. Once Lin Chi joins and puts pressure on the production team, they will have to obediently listen. The camera was now focused on Lin Chi, who was closing his eyes and recuperating. The slender and curly eyelashes trembled for a moment, and Lin Chi slowly opened her eyes. Her cold and indifferent eyes gently glanced at Huang Jiao. Of course, the little detail in her heart was seen by Lin Chi 80.9%. So, looking at the camera, her red lips parted slightly and said, "Of course. Not." As the last 2 words fell, Huang Jiao's initially confident face collapsed in an instant. The smile stiffened on the face. Lin Chi still said, 50-meter parachuting, not to mention being a person, it's okay to be a dog. Moreover, this is the arrangement of the production team. Since we have signed a contract to participate in this program, we should follow your arrangements. I believe the production team will not joke about the safety of artists' lives." After speaking, she looked at the camera with a peaceful smile, looking like I was very well behaved and obedient. Unlike some people who cause trouble and disobey arrangements. As soon as Lin Chi's words were spoken, everyone present, including netizens watching the live broadcast, was shocked. No one could have imagined that Lin Chi would say such a thing. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Smashing the Face and Filling the Fat Man. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Smashing the Face and Filling the Fat Man. Does she know what she's talking about? No, is this really the Lin Chi I know? Lin Chi has changed her personality, especially Huang Jiao, who has been internalized, has a very bad complexion. Biting her lips in grievance, a hint of resentment flashed quickly in Lin Chi's eyes. Lin Chi, this bitch. Do you know what you're talking about? She dares to boast too much. In order to make her lose face, she puffed up her face here and pretended to be fat. Since that's the case, then don't blame her for being impolite. Between 2 breaths, the awkwardness on Huang Jiao's face had faded, as nothing had happened just now. Lin Chi, since you have convinced us from the program team's arrangement that skydiving is not a problem, why don't you jump down first and give us a sample? You have seen that, I am very scared. If you are willing to give us a sample, it may stimulate our fighting spirit. She doesn't believe it, Lin Chi really knows how to parachute. She just wants to see Lin Chi make a fool of herself. Lin Chi's expressionless face suddenly smiled when she heard Huang Jiao's words, but the smile did not reach her eyes. Please clarify your identity. I am following the program team's arrangements, not yours. The conversation changed and he said, of course, if you really want to see me jump first, it's not a problem. Kneel down and kowtow and call me Dad, and I'll jump immediately. She smiled and didn't feel that what she said was too vague at all. She was originally a person who couldn't tolerate sand in her small belly and intestines. Huang Jiaoqi's chest heaved violently, and if it weren't for being in front of the camera, she would have wanted to fight Lin Chi. Suppressing the anger in her heart, Huang Jiao raised her chin and responded, okay. As long as you can jump down, I can kneel down and kowtow and call out, Dad. On the contrary, you have to do this to me. Since Lin Chi insists on seeking insult on her own, don't blame her for being impolite. Okay. Lin Chi said, afraid that Huang Jiao would backtrack. It's a deal. At this moment, the cabin door opened and Lin Chi took the parachute from the side and installed it herself. Huang Jiao felt a hint of panic as she looked so skilled. Then he denied it again. Impossible. Lin Chi, a promiscuous young lady, how could she possibly parachute? It's better not to scare yourself. This comforted herself, and Huang Jiao's gaze towards Lin Chi was full of provocation. Lin Chi stood at the entrance of the cabin, and the wind messed up her hair, adding a touch of messy beauty to the girl. She was already beautiful, and at this moment her eyes were shining brightly, shining like the brightest star in the night sky, making it impossible to move her eyes. Huang Jiao, you lost, wait to call your dad. After speaking, Lin Chi jumped up and spread out his arms, as light as a bird. Huang Jiao and another girl were startled. She jumped. I really jumped. Huang Jiao supported the cabin and walked trembling at the door, watching as Lin Chi opened his parachute in the air and landed steadily on the ground. Take a step back. She was already heavy-headed just standing at the door and looking down. How dare Lin Chi? Especially the bet just now. Huang Jiao's face turned pale, and she quickly grabbed her pants with force. She must have done it on purpose. In the forest, Lin Chi collected his parachute and took out a map from his backpack. There are various annotations on the map, and one of the red triangle patterns is unexplained. Lin Chi walked north with the map, and that was the closest foothold to her current position. It's 4 p.m. now, and she has to arrive before it gets dark. I checked my backpack and found all the wilderness survival tools inside, but there was no food. After walking for nearly half an hour, Lin Chi suddenly heard a very weak cry for help. Help! Help! The voice is weak and energetic. The other party seemed to give up seeking help, but they were unwilling and their voice was as weak as a mosquito. Lin Chi has good ears and heard it. I didn't want to meddle, but upon looking at the map, there is a red triangle located here. She needs to go see what this red triangle really is. Help me. The closer you get, the clearer you hear. Lin Chi stood 3 meters away, looking at a girl hanging from a tree branch that was 3 or 4 meters high. The girl also saw Lin Chi at this moment, reached out her hand, tears welled up in her eyes. Lin Chi. Please help me. When Bai Yu was parachuting, she was stuck in the middle of a tree branch for half an hour, but no one came to save her. Just as she was about to give up, a glimmer of hope appeared. Lin Chi walked closer, although she was stuck, she couldn't move. Jump down. Bai Yu was aggrieved, with a crying voice. I dare not jump, I am afraid of heights, she said. Just now when I jumped off the plane, it was Qi Yan who pushed her from behind while she wasn't paying attention. Lin Chi rolled her eyes and said, then you can keep getting stuck. Bai Yu became anxious and immediately stopped her. Don't leave, don't leave. Don't leave. I'll jump. Lin Chi's feet, which had just moved, were retracted. Bai Yu scratched her face and said, I'll jump. Can you follow me from below? Lin Chi. What? Does this girl have a fever in her mind? The word, not good, twirled around her mouth and she was about to blurt it out. She then gave birth to it and swallowed it back. Looking up, Lin Chi smiled gently and said, "Okay, I'll catch you." With these words, Baiyu breathed a sigh of relief and mustered courage, then I jumped. Ah! I also dubbed myself. When jumping down, it is with all 4 feet facing the ground. Pop! Ow! Baiyu fell to the ground and almost tilted her nose. Lin Kefiden didn't catch up with her and took a step back, indifferent as he looked at the girl on the ground, screaming in pain. Pretty. She is very disgusted. 4 meters is not considered high, and jumping down won't kill anyone. She also has no obligation to help a stranger. It would be great to encourage her to jump down and not continue to be trapped in the tree. Baiyu stood up from the ground with a grin on her face, wanting to say something, but when she met Lin Chi's cold eyes, her mouth was sealed and she couldn't say a word. Dare to be angry but not speak up. Lin Chi lifted her leg and walked away, while Baiyu limped behind her. Where are you going? Seeing that she was not aimlessly wandering, but purposefully searching for something, she curiously asked. Lin Chi casually replied, "Go to a mysterious and dangerous place." After walking for a while, the 2 of them stopped under a tree. Lin Chi walked around the tree and then smiled, "I found it." Baiyu. Is this the mysterious and dangerous place in her mouth? She was about to see how mysterious the tree was when she saw Lin Chi rushing up like a monkey. This tree is much taller than the one she hung just now. Kolinchi reached out quickly and moved quickly, climbing up and down. When I came down, I also had a small white basket in my hand. What is this? Lin Chi opened the blue fabric covering the basket. Inside is a string of grapes. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. What to do and what not to do, bragging first place. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 6. Home stolen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Home stolen. In the forest, Lin Chi climbed high and looked far. Her gaze reached a certain point, and her pupils shrank. She grabbed the basket in her hand and jumped down, landing steadily on the ground. Picking up Baiyu, who had just completed a major life event, he carried her back. Hey hey hey! What are you doing? Baiyu was carried by her like a little chick. Lin Chi's air pressure was gloomy, and his face was full of evil energy. Our house has been stolen. Baiyu looked bewildered. I didn't understand what Lin Chi meant until I returned to the campsite. I saw 3 baskets that were still full before they left, all open now, and the bread and fruit inside were all eaten by people. Huang Jiao, Qi Yan, and another male guest sat next to the food, with Qi Yan slightly away from them. The 2 male guests didn't know if they had eaten, but Huang Jiao still had a piece of bread in her mouth that she hadn't finished eating. Baiyu glanced at Lin Chi and instinctively shrunk her neck, standing next to her, feeling a cool wind blowing. Done. If others are okay, but the key is that the person who eats her food is now Huang Jiao, who is her arch-nemesis. Who let you eat? Lin Chi had a gloomy face, her eyes devoid of any emotion, without any warmth. Her gaze at Huang Jiao seemed to be at a dead person. Huang Jiao finished a bite of bread and swallowed a sip of water before slowly speaking up, "The thing is in front of me, I can eat it if I want. Do you need anyone else's permission? It's not your thing." As he spoke, he rolled his eyes. It's really strange. Lin Chi clenched her hands into a fist, her nails pinched into her flesh, and a slight pain stimulated her nerves, keeping her calm. That's why she didn't publicly attack Huang Jiao on the show. She didn't speak, gave a glance at Baiyu, and then closed her eyes. I'm afraid that looking at Huang Jiao's face will make her lose face. Bai Yu understood instantly and took a step forward. She explained weakly, these are all things that Lin Chi brought. They are her things. It's not right for you to eat her things without her consent. Huang Jiao was taken aback for a moment, then burst out laughing and pointed at Lin Chi. Did she get it? Bai Yu, don't tease me, even if I lie, I'll tell you something similar. If you are threatened by Lin Chi, just blink your eyes. Don't worry, we will all help you, right? Qi Yingdi. Speaking, he looked at Qi Yan with a smile on his face. Qi Yan, who had a weak sense of existence, said at this moment, I believe in Bai Yu. Although he didn't know what had happened, he believed in Bai Yu. The girl is also someone he watched grow up with, she won't lie. As soon as these words were spoken, Huang Jiao's smile instantly stiffened on her face. She was extremely embarrassed and asked, why? Qi Yan pointed slender fingers at the same basket that Lin Chi was holding in his hand. Huang Jiao looked over and still couldn't accept it. What does this prove? Who knows if her basket is a threat to the production team? Also, when we came here, there was no one here, which means these foods were all prepared by the production team for us at the campsite. How could they become Lin Chi's? This is unfair. Besides, after finishing all the food, can we still spit it out? Yes, you're right, you ate it. Upon hearing this, Huang Jiao let out a soft snort and immediately looked at Lin Chi with a proud expression. There was still some arrogance and provocation in the expression. As if asking Lin Chi, what can you do to me? Lin Chi approached a bit and spoke coldly, but I can open your stomach and take out my things. When she said this, her tone was cool and her eyes were extremely gloomy. Huang Jiaolin was so scared that she shivered and goosebumps appeared on her body. Due to lack of confidence, her voice unconsciously increased its volume when speaking. Don't scare me anymore. You think I'm scared too much. Lin Chi tilted her head and suddenly curled her lips. How did you stutter when you weren't scared? Did you have unclear speech or an underdeveloped left brain? You. Huang Jiao was so angry that her hands pointing at Lin Chi were trembling. Lin Chi changed her face and her gaze was gloomy. You. What, you? If you can't speak, just shut up. Pack up your things and get out of here. Why do you say you let me go? I'll go. Huang Jiao stood up now, feeling like she was losing out on Lin Chi's momentum. But even if she stood, she only had the pressure of being suppressed by Lin Chi. Lin Chi spoke with a good temper, let's talk about first come, then come. We came here first, shouldn't you leave? As long as Huang Jiao doesn't cause trouble, she can ignore the fact that she ate her own food. But Huang Jiao is not a troublemaker. Upon hearing this, she smiled and said, who are you fooling? Lin Chi, it was me and Yan Siki who came first, not you. If you don't believe me, ask Emperor Qi. Qi Yan remained silent. Bai Yu said, we came first, but Lin Chi accompanied me to the restroom, and you didn't see us. Huang Jiao snorted coldly, obviously not believing. Lin Chi didn't argue with her either. He took out the small flag that was originally placed on the tent from his pocket and said, keep your dog's eyes wide open and see clearly what this is. She knew that Huang Jiao wouldn't easily regress. But she didn't expect that all the evidence was on her face. Huang Jiao's face could be so thick. Who knows if you're a threat to the production team? Who knows if you've seen Emperor Qi living here, so you're not leaving? I don't have a divine perspective. You said you came first, but when Yan Siki and I arrived, there was no one else here except Emperor Qi. Lin Chi frowned. Huang Jiao sat down again, her hands wrapped around her knees, and said, if you want to leave, you can leave. I won't leave. The evidence is on your face, you still don't believe it. Huang Jiao remained silent, silence was the best answer. Lin Chi smiled and took back the small flag. Bai Yu was both anxious, aggrieved, and helpless. What should I do? What should we do? We have to be soft, not hard. Speaking, Lin Chi took a step forward, holding Huang Jiao's clothes in her hand, and picked up the person with a lively expression. Then with a gentle leg, Huang Jiao took several steps back to barely stabilize her body and shouted, Lin Chi. What are you doing? You see that Qi Yan can't walk, so I have to help you. There are many women in this circle who are infatuated with Qi Yan, and Huang Jiao is also one of them. Huang Jiao was told something on her mind and felt extremely embarrassed. She glanced at Qi Yan with a guilty expression and loudly denied, You're talking nonsense. Since I'm talking nonsense, then prove your innocence and leave quickly. Don't occupy someone else's land. You. Huang Jiao is not leaving now, nor is she not leaving. Lin Chi is clearly digging a pit for her and waiting for her to jump inside. If she doesn't leave, wouldn't she just sit back and like Qi Yan? It's precisely because of Qi Yan that she won't leave this matter. She may be the one who will be subjected to online bullying then. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. The Addiction to Food and Beverage. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. The Addiction to Food and Beverage. Fortunately, at this moment, Yan Siki stood up and helped Huang Jiao out, accusing Lin Chi, speak as you speak. What are you doing with your hands? And Huang Jiao, who had been at a loss before, was awakened by a sentence and looked at Lin Chi angrily, Lin Chi. Why are you pushing me? Do you want to fight, right? As he spoke, he rolled up his sleeves and rushed forward. Everyone present, including the audience, saw that it was her Lin Chi who moved her hand. Even if she scratched Lin Chi's face, it could only be said that she deserved it. People are still addicted to food. When Huang Jiao thought of how Lin Chi was beaten to the ground by herself in the previous episode, she became extremely excited. Coincidentally, netizens also enjoy watching her fight with Lin Chi and unilaterally beat him up. Thinking this way, Huang Jiao was full of energy, but before she even met Lin Chi, she was dodged by Lin Chi. The girl's stunning face was covered in frost. Huang Jiao, I don't want to fight with you. I advise you not to provoke me. This is her last patience. She doesn't want to have physical conflicts with people on the show. Because she knew that if she punched her, Huang Jiao might not be able to bear it. Stop talking nonsense. Lin Chi, this is what you brought on yourself. I will avenge you if I take revenge. If you hit me, I must fight back. Lin Chi let out a tisk, and at this moment, he still needed to establish a character for himself. Unfortunately, what stands in front of her now is not Lin Chi, that useless person, but Lin Chi, who has been fighting black fists since childhood to make a living, and later adopted and trained into a top killer. Huang Jiao reached out to scratch Lin Chi's face. But Lin Chi grabbed her wrist, without even blinking, and twisted her back. With a click, my arm broke. Turning around, Lin Chi came behind Huang Jiao and kicked her in the knee socket. Huang Jiao knelt down on one knee. Subsequently, the screams of slaughtering pigs echoed through the sky. The sound of a broken bone was heard clearly by everyone present, and it hurt just to listen, let alone the person involved. What was terrifying was that Lin Chi twisted Huang Jiao's arm back for her on the spot. Ignorantly letting go, Lin Chi looked down at the woman who had fallen to the ground due to too much pain and said, I used to be foolish to be bullied by you, but Huang Jiao, I warn you, from now on, it's best not to provoke me. I gave you a chance today, but unfortunately, your eyes are too high to listen to advice. Today, I only allowed Huang Jiao to taste the pain of a broken arm because she didn't want to cause any harm on the show. But if Huang Jiao doesn't give up, she doesn't mind making her lose face. Glancing at Yan Siki, who was furious, Lin Chi spoke lightly and said, Take your people with you and get out of here right away. You. Yan Siki angrily reached out and pointed at Lin Chi. I wanted to say something, but was swept over by Lin Chi's gaze, and everything was stuck on my lips. I don't like people pointing at me the most. I don't want to be beaten up, get out of here. Yen Siki said. Yen Siki hesitated for 3 seconds, but in the end, he had no backbone and withdrew his hand. He squatted beside Huang Jiao, crying and shouting for pain, and helped her up. Huang Jiao sat on the ground, holding her arm and her eyes swollen with tears. My hand is broken, my hand is broken. Woo-woo. Woo-woo. Lin Chi, who was crying, was annoyed and threatened, if I ask you to break your other hand, believe it or not. Huang Jiao was scared to death and immediately bit her lips to stop crying, but a pair of tearful eyes looked at Lin Chi with resentment, wishing to eat her raw. Lin Chi rolled his eyes, too lazy to pay attention to her, but suddenly remembered something. He wrapped his hands around his chest and lazily asked, Huang Jiao, have you forgotten something? Huang Jiao was puzzled. Lin Chi kindly reminded, airplane, gambling agreement. Huang Jiao's face changed instantly, pale and pale. Come on, kowtow and call daddy, Lin Chi said with great anticipation and a strong sense of disgust. Huang Jiao bit her lips and remained silent. Lin Chi frowned and said, do you want to go back on your word? Huang Jiao looked at Yen Siki with a pleading and aggrieved gaze, Siki brother. Lin Chi, delicate and weak, was covered in goosebumps. Upon seeing this, Yen Siki immediately accused Lin Chi, everyone is a colleague, from the same circle, recording in the same program, looking up but not looking down. Jiao Jiao is just joking with you. Do you have to take it so seriously? Lin Chi only wanted to laugh, without any mercy, stop talking nonsense, kowtow quickly. Huang Jiao remained motionless and stiffened for a moment, making the scene very awkward at the moment. Suddenly, Lin Chi felt a tug on the hem of her clothes. Turning around, it was Bai Yu. Bai Yusheng is very beautiful, with a pair of big eyes that are sparkling with water. At this moment, she is looking at herself timidly, like an innocent little white rabbit, making people feel pity when looking at her. Why? Bai Yu took a deep breath and, relying on her friendship with Lin Chi for going to the bathroom, gathered the courage to speak up, Lin Chi, what Yen Siki said is also correct. How about? Forget it. And this is still a live variety show, Huang Jiao is a girl. Lin Chi instantly changed her face and coldly pushed Bai Yu's hand away. You want to plead for her? Stay away from me. If it's me who lost the bet today, do you think Huang Jiao would think I'm a girl and that this is a live broadcast, so she would let me go? Said Huang Jiao with a cold gaze at her. The answer is no. Huang Jiao only thinks about how to torture her, humiliate her, and make her happier. Bai Yu pursed her lips and didn't speak anymore. But her original intention was just not to want Lin Chi to be exposed online for this matter. Huang Jiao collapsed and said, Lin Chi, you can't do this to me. Huang Jiao lacks confidence, and the girl in front of her makes her feel unfamiliar. Is this still the Lin Chi she knows? Lin Chi sneered, what did I do to you? Isn't this something you promised yourself? Did I force you? Huang Jiao bit her lips tightly, but remained silent and motionless. She's talking to Lin Chihua. Lin Chi gave her half a minute and also noticed Huang Jiao's attitude. Without saying a word, Lin Chi lifted her leg and kicked Huang Jiao on the shoulder, flipping the person over. Along with Yen Siki, who was protecting her, he also fell to the ground, which shows how much strength she used in this kick. Huang Jiao was confused. She didn't expect Lin Chi to hit her and then kick her again. She struggled to get up from the ground, being humiliated one after another, her face flushed with blood as if she had been slapped several times, and she shouted angrily, Lin Chi. Are you crazy? This is recording a program. Live variety shows. How will she meet people again in the future? How can you get around in this circle? Lin Chi said casually, don't you just rely on live streaming and think I dare not fight you? Being told of something on her mind, Huang Jiao felt like a deflated balloon, feeling extremely guilty and afraid to speak in an instant. Lin Chi's face showed impatience and said, counting to 3, and then not moving, "It's not just that simple. 1. 2. Lin Chi's voice was like a ghost from hell searching for her soul. When she said, 3, and walked towards her, Huang Jiao hesitated. "I dare not gamble anymore." End of this chapter. Chapter 8. How long does it take for me to cut off its head? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. How long does it take for me to cut off its head? She was extremely scared, and the pain in her arms could still be felt clearly now. And Lin Chi is not joking with her at all. She's already crazy. In her eyes, there is no royal system, no law and no sky. It's ridiculous that no one present can help her. And she still has to throw such a big face in front of her favorite man. Lin Chi lifted her chin, indicating that she could start. Under immense pressure and shame, Huang Jiao knelt in front of Lin Chi, kowtowing reluctantly, her lips trembling, and she shouted in a low voice, "Dad." Lin Chi dug out her ear and said, "What are you saying? I can't hear you." Huang Jiao's lips were engorged with blood from her bite, turning red. Her eyes were about to crack and she said, "Dad." This time, Lin Chi didn't make things difficult for her anymore. He looked down at the girl kneeling in front of him and said, "If I had known it now, why did I have it back then?" After speaking, I didn't take another look at her. Bai Yu hurriedly said, "Yan Siki, please take her away quickly." After a while, Yan Siki dragged Huang Jiao away from the land of right and wrong. Lin Chi glanced coldly at their backs, devoid of any emotion. Looking back, I saw that both Qi Yan and Bai Yu's eyes were on me. Looking at each other for a moment, Bai Yu panicked and withdrew her gaze. A hint of fear flashed through my eyes. Lin Chi let out a disdainful sneer from his nose. "Are you afraid of this?" Disdainful to explain, he picked up the ingredients on the ground and entered the tent. She is not a good person by nature. She grew up eating human flesh, how many of them have a conscience? Moreover, it was Huang Jiao who brought it on herself. As night fell, the surroundings were pitch black with no trace of light, and occasionally a few wolf howls could be heard from afar. It's not strange that there are wild beasts in the forest, but what's strange is that the howling sound of wolves is getting closer and closer. "Help me!" A cry for help broke through the throat. Lin Chi quickly stood up, unzipped the tent, and crawled out. Bai Yu and Qi Yan next to him also walked out. The flashlight's light shone towards a certain spot, and 2 men were seen dragging a woman, running wildly towards this side. And behind them, there is a wolf with green eyes shining. Lin Chi squinted her eyes. Bai Yu was so scared that her legs were weak. Wolf, wolf, wolf. How could there be wolves? At this time, the main monitoring room of the program. The director was anxiously spinning around. What to do? What to do? No one expected that wild beasts, which were originally only active in the depths of the forest, would appear on the periphery. He never expected that some people without brains would reveal their foolishness to the public. Half an hour ago, Huang Jiao and Yan Siki found another camp, and they were both starving. Thinking that Lin Chi claimed to have found the ingredients, Huang Jiao refused to be outdone and called on another male guest to find the ingredients. The male guest saw that it was already late and didn't want to go, but couldn't resist the other 2 people's enthusiastic appointment and could only go together. The 2 men were not unable to understand the map, but Huang Jiao had her own ideas and opinions. She pretended to understand and believed that she had taken the right path. She also wanted to prove that Lin Chi was able to get the ingredients not because she couldn't understand the map and couldn't find a place, but because she opened a small stove and the production team opened a backdoor for her. And Yan Siki only listened to Huang Jiao's words, whatever she said, he could only indulge her. The other male guest is speechless. So, Huang Jiao led the 2 of them deeper and deeper, still reciting words in her mouth. "Look, Lin Chi's things definitely came through the back door. We've been walking for so long and haven't found any food. How could Lin Chi find so much in just one go? If we say she didn't cheat, I really don't believe it. I didn't notice at all that I was getting deeper and deeper. Good to die but never to die. I met a lone wolf who was out searching for food. Yan Siki covered Huang Jiao's mouth and didn't let her make a sound. Another male guest, Xiao Yong, reacted quickly and immediately turned off the flashlight. Two men slowly pulled Huang Jiao back, but they were still caught. The wolf let out a howl at them, and Huang Jiao was so scared that her legs were weak. She let out a scream, pushed Yan Siki away, turned around, and ran. Seeing this, the lone wolf immediately chased towards them. Driven by their desire for survival, the three of them engaged in a life-and-death battle with the lone wolf. Even delicate and weak girls like Huang Jiao have exhausted their lifelong efforts to escape. Behind him was a wild beast with a grinning mouth and chattering, and no one wanted to be chased. The chief director anxiously slapped his thigh and watched from the surveillance footage as Huang Jiao and others led the lone wolf to the camp of Lin Chi and others. With a weak leg, he sat down on the ground. It's over, it's completely over now. These 6 people are probably gone. He's also going to be gone. The deputy director was also desperate and eager to cry. Our people couldn't possibly save them in such a short time. Especially what they have to face is still a huge and ferocious beast. At this moment, there is also a low pressure on the barrage of the program. I really hate Huang Jiao. She definitely did it on purpose. She's not going anywhere, she's going to Lin Chi's camp. If anything happens to my brother, I won't let her go even if Huang Jiao is a ghost. Where are the people from the production team? Help me. Can't we just watch 6 guests being eaten by wolves? Oh my goodness, I'm going to faint. From its gaze, I seem to see 6 corpses. I want to see how the production team can solve such a big program accident. Sleeping slot. Sleeping slot, sleeping slot. Lin Chi, she's crazy, isn't she? She's pretending too much. Dare to point your middle finger at the wolf. I think she wants to die soon. Although that's not right, I still want to say, can we eat Lin Chi and let the other 5 people go? In the forest. The lone wolf saw the sudden addition of 3 people and stopped pursuing Huang Jiao and the others. The 3 of them climbed and fell beside the tent. At this moment, Lin Chi suddenly threw his flashlight to Qi Yan. Help me finish it. In fact, she can see without light, but she is afraid that they won't be able to see her heroic figure. Before Qi Yan could react, Lin Chi walked lightly to the lone wolf. In front of the fierce beast, the girl's figure appeared particularly petite. Qi Yan frowned and said, "Are you crazy? It's not worth it, is it?" Everyone else had to step back, but she was so lucky that she took the initiative to move forward and pointed at the wolf like his mother was crazy. She thought the wolf could understand her contempt. Lin Chi straightened his middle finger and withdrew his hand. He bent down and drew his military knife from his boots. Turning around and asking, "Guess how long it takes me to cut off its head?" Everyone. No one answered her question, and everyone had only one thought in their minds, which was that Lin Chi was crazy. But Lin Chi knew in her heart that if she didn't solve this wolf tonight, none of them would want to leave alive. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. How handsome you pretended to be just now, how wolf you are. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Just now, how handsome I was pretending to be, how embarrassed I am now. Those 3 big fools have already provoked it, and it will definitely not give up easily. As Lin Chi thought, the beast rushed towards her. She did not return, nor can she. Once they step back, the 5 people behind them who are powerless may be bitten to pieces. Lin Chi welcomed him head on. The military knife stabbed towards the lone wolf's eyes, but it was cleverly dodged. Then it ran towards the crowd and felt Lin Chi's attack. It immediately dodged and retreated, distancing itself from the crowd. Lin Chi stood in the middle, looking back at the 5 people gradually standing together. Looking at the wild beast with green eyes. Suddenly grinning. Trick me. Dogs are quite human. That's right, this wolf has his own thoughts. It knew that Lin Chi wanted to protect those 5 people, so it deliberately made a gesture of wanting to attack them, letting Lin Chi guard against them, but at a critical moment, it also distanced itself from each other. It knows that this group of humans is not its opponent. It seemed to understand Lin Chi's words and looked at him contemptuously with those green eyes. Lin Chi sneered. No wonder those 3 big silly hats were not eaten by it. It dares to enjoy the pleasure of watching the enemy being tortured by itself. Having figured this out, Lin Chi no longer worries. In the second round of combat, he intentionally lost and was slapped on the ground with one of his claws. It took a step forward, and Lin Chi took a step back, her eyes filled with fear. The beast was very satisfied with Lin Chi's reaction. Having enjoyed this process, it lowered its head and bit towards Lin Chi with a big mouth full of saliva. At this moment, everyone is feeling anxious, not only the ready-made guests, but also the netizens watching the live broadcast. Although Lin Chi is very annoying, she can't bear to die. I still feel a bit reluctant to watch her being eaten. To be honest, Lin Chi just pretended to be so handsome, but now he looks so embarrassed. From Lin Chi's experience, we have come to a conclusion that one should not be too pretentious in life, as pretending to be pretentious can lead to lightning strikes. As long as I turn off my phone, I won't be able to see the scene of Lin Chi's tragic death. Everyone's hearts were raised to their throats, and they were so scared by this scene that the program director even thought about what to do next for themselves. But in this tense and stimulating moment, the reversal happened. Lin Chi, who was originally sitting on the ground and was about to die from the wolf's mouth, suddenly saw his sword hidden in his wrist, piercing his entire mouth from bottom to top as his big head lowered. With only a painful scream, the situation changed from Lin Chi below to Lin Chi above. She sat on top of the beast, blood splattering on her face without blinking. A seductive and gorgeous face is now stained with blood, adding a touch of danger and mystery. The dangerous scene has passed, and other guests watched as Lin Chi fiercely counterattacked and expressionlessly stabbed the wolf to death, holding their breath. It wasn't until the girl wiped the blood-stained military knife off the wolf's fur and stood up that everyone reacted. The scene I just saw was not a dream. But it was a real existence. Lin Chi picked a wolf alone and successfully killed it. Dead. The girl's voice is like the wind in the cold winter of the 12th lunar month, making people feel cold to the bone. The first person to react was Qi Yan. Are you okay? Lin Chi calmed down, his calm and indifferent eyes adding a touch of shock and foolishness. I almost didn't react. Is he caring about himself? Shaking her head, Lin Chi said, I'm fine. Lin Chi walked over and took the flashlight back from Qi Yan's hand. Don't worry, it's okay, he said. Although her tone was still cold, with her assurance, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Especially Huang Jiao, who narrowly escaped death, shed tears on the spot, even more heartbroken than her boyfriend's infidelity. Wow. I thought I was dead tonight. It scared me to death. Lin Chi glanced at her and didn't say anything. This is probably the voice of everyone except her. Unfortunately, she wouldn't let this happen. In her past life, although she was an extramarital maniac, she should have killed people as well. Her master is a beast, but one thing is that he never lets the people under his hands be stained with innocent blood. Danger cleared, recording continues. Huang Jiao cried bitterly, shouting that she couldn't leave. She stayed here tonight and didn't leave. 3 rooms, 6 people, pairs, let's all live in the same campsite, okay? Lin Chi frowned, although unwilling to live with others, he did not refuse. After all, the unknown danger is the most terrifying, and staying together tonight is more important than anything else. Baiyu's pale face was clearly frightened by what had just happened. At this moment, she weakly asked, "But how should we arrange for the 3 men and 3 women?" Lin Chi said, "We can't all rest, we need someone to watch the night." As soon as the words finished, I heard Huang Jiao say, "Then you come." Lin Chi looked over and was met by those indifferent gazes. Huang Jiao's heart trembled for a moment before realizing that she was speaking too quickly. But at this point, there was no other way but to grit her teeth and say, "Lin Chi, it's most appropriate for you to come and watch the night. You can pick a wolf on your own, but we can't. If either of us were to be eaten. You can't be so selfish." Lin Chi. What? Lin Chi smiled. She was so big that she had never seen such a shameless woman before. "I'm amazing, that's not why I can stay up late." Before Huang Jiao could answer, she said, "Also, when I suggested staying up late, I intended to stay up late and rest for you. But I'm sorry, I'm not happy now. Whatever you like, don't blame me for being eaten by a wild beast." Although that's what Lin Chi said, the last sentence was to scare them. They are located at the outermost edge of the forest, and there are usually no wild beasts around. Tonight, this wolf was purely accidental, and the reason for staying up late is because they are afraid that its companions will come. But Lin Chi's words scared Huang Jiao back to tears, and she watched helplessly as Lin Chi carried the wolf away, like a headless fly, unsure of what to do. His gaze turned towards the place where Qi Yan was, hoping to give him an idea, but he did not see Qi Yan's figure. Lin Chi found himself being tracked within 3 minutes of leaving the camp. But she was not in a hurry to expose it. First, she carried the body and found a place to bury it casually. Then, with her rich experience in jungle survival, she found a pool of water. Standing on the shore for 30 seconds, when the person behind him followed closer, he quickly turned around and took an arrow step forward, with a fierce fist wind attacking Qi Yan's life gate. Qi Yan's gaze stiffened, he turned his head to avoid it, and at the same time, he reached out and engaged in a fight with Lin Chi. "The 2 of you punched and kicked me fiercely." End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Whose Kettle is Boiling? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Whose kettle is boiling? But Qi Yan's experience was ultimately defeated by Lin Chi, and he was quickly defeated. Lin Chi threw him over the shoulder and into the water. With a splash, water splashed everywhere. Qi Yan felt pain in all his internal organs and waited in the water for a long time before standing up. Pull up the wet hair sticking to your forehead. If it weren't for Lin Chi knowing he wasn't a bad person, he would probably end up the same way as that wolf now. Suddenly, a beam of light hit my face. Qi Yan squinted his eyes and barely saw the face of the girl on the shore. "Why are you following me?" Qi Yan said, "I'm worried about you." "Shoo." The girl sneered sarcastically. This reason sounds very fake at first glance. Kicking the stones on the shore into the water, Lin Chi's face showed a stern expression and said, "To be honest." Qi Yan said again, "The truth is that I'm afraid you might encounter danger alone, and I'm worried about you, so I secretly protect you." Lin Chi. I really want to hit someone. Lin Chi squatted down and said, "I'm asking you, if I break you, should I compensate?" Qi Yan was almost ignored by her jumping brain circuit and tilted his head, asking in reverse, "What do you think?" Then he pointed to the drone on his head and said, "Here, your crime has been recorded." Lin Chi looked up and grinned at the drone. "Oh no, I forgot about the existence of this thing. I believe everyone has seen her abnormal attitude towards Qi Yan. But it's okay, as long as she doesn't say it, no one knows she's traveling. After all, such a mysterious thing is not a personal experience, who would believe it? And what she needs to do now is to use her original identity to live well, find the culprit who wants to harm her, and reclaim everything that belongs to her in the Lin family." Having figured it out, his gaze turned to Qi Yan, who was trying to climb ashore. There was no need to ask why he was following him. As Qi Yan stood by the shore, Lin Qi also stood up and said, "Now that you see I'm fine, you can go. Don't forget to complain roast. You are really going to encounter some danger with your poor kung fu. I guess I will be dragged down by you." But Qi Yanhui's military tactics made her a little curious. How could a male celebrity be Qi Yan? Also, don't follow others' footsteps if you have nothing to do in the future, otherwise you won't know how to die. Qi Yan. I really gave him 2 cuts and didn't forget to sprinkle salt on his wound. Let's go back. Lin Qi waved his hand in disgust. Qi Yan didn't leave. You said I can't do it. What should I do if I encounter danger on my way back alone? Can't you come and save me soon? Lin Qi. So, I have to take responsibility for my own life, you have to protect me. Lin Qi. Lin Qi smiled angrily and said, "Hey, your face has fallen to the ground. Could you please pick it up? If you don't pick it up, I'll step on it." "Step on it," Qi Yan said, simply putting on a show. Lin Qi. Lin Qi rolled his eyes and suddenly grinned, "Then you can stay if you want." After speaking, in Qi Yan's stunned eyes, she took off her coat and pants, leaving only a vest and panties. Qi Yan's pupils suddenly shrank, and his first reaction was to look at the drone in the sky, warning it not to take photos. The drone immediately turned around, with its butt facing them. "What are you doing?" You can hear the anger in the man's tone. Under the moonlight, Lin Qi could clearly see the 2 red halos that quickly appeared on Qi Yan's fair face. "Tisk, are you shy?" The ingrained evil factor teased her and she couldn't help but say, "Where is this from? No matter how light I look, you haven't seen me before." During the period when the original owner was crazily pursuing Qi Yan, in order to seduce Qi Yan, the original owner more than once stripped himself in front of him. Of course, this behavior is very shameful. But at this moment, watching Qi Yan's shy and angry expression made her unable to resist wanting to tease him. Qi Yan. Qi Yan was so embarrassed and angry when he was teased that he stared at Lin Qi's eyes and dared not look down for a moment. "You shut up." Lin Qi who's, burst out laughing. "Bullock chat, no, who boiled the kettle? Whose big goose ran out, right, Lin Qi, this damn woman, what should I do if I'm a bit tempted by her?" Although, I dare say that Lin Qi is the first female celebrity in the entertainment industry to dare to laugh so normally and without any affectation. Qi Yan didn't know what he was doing, so he clicked on Lin Qi's smile and blushed, saying, "Hurry up and put on your clothes." Lin Qi shrugged and said, "No, you're going to hit me." Speaking, he turned around and jumped into the water. "Since you don't want to leave, then help me wash my clothes clean." Lin Qi's original intention was also to find a water source to wash his clothes and wolf blood off his body after dealing with the body, but he did not expect Qi Yan's incident to occur. Lin Qi fell into the water, and in the dim light, Qi Yan couldn't see his body, which was uneven, white, and glowing, so he breathed a sigh of relief. After seeing the combat uniform on the ground, hesitating for a moment, he squatted on the shore, put his clothes in the water, and rubbed them together. Lin Qi in the middle of the water was stunned. She was just joking leaving the pool. The two returned to the campsite, which was already an hour later. A fire was set up in the center of the campsite, and 4 people sat around the fire, reporting to the group for warmth. Lin Qi was very pleased, fortunately, not particularly foolish. The 2 of them walked over. "You're back," said Xiao Yong wearily. His eyelids were already fighting up and down, very tired and drowsy, but he didn't dare to sleep. At least until Lin Qi returned, he didn't dare to sleep, afraid that once he closed his eyes, he wouldn't be able to see the sun tomorrow. Upon hearing the sound, Huang Jiao, who was sleeping lightly, lifted her head resting on Yan Siki's shoulder, rubbed her eyes, and noticed that Qi Yan and Lin Qi were both wet, immediately boosting her spirits. But he didn't dare to show it too clearly, so he could only ask Qi Yan in a coquettish voice, "Qiingdi, why are your clothes all wet? Qi Yan rubbed his nose, but before he could answer, Lin Chi next to him said, come with me to take a shower and get wet. You. Huang Jiao widened her eyes and almost blurted out the words, shameless. Lin Chi's eyes sank and he sat cross-legged on the ground. Although they were of similar height, Huang Jiao still felt suffocated by Lin Chi's pressure. What's up? Do you have any objections? Huang Jiao. How dare she think of being beaten by Lin Chi in the afternoon and watching Lin Chi kill wolves alone at night. But she just can't accept it. Lin Chi, don't say that. Emperor Qi Ying is not such a person. Lin Chi smiled slightly and said, don't believe it, let him speak on his own. In an instant, all 5 pairs of eyes looked at Qi Yan. Qi Yan. Well, she's right. Laughing to death, her hand pinched the flesh on the inside of his thigh, causing pain and discomfort. How dare he say it's not? End of this chapter.